Hello there YouTube. Today I'm going to show you guys how to do the probing settings so that your bed size and your X and the Y axis doesn't bump up to the limits of your gantry. Many people have asked on Discord what the values are, and I was also struggling with these values because I reflashed the printer to MRiscoc, I think that's how you pronounce it, I hope, firmware, and the values were gone. So I had to get to my Ender 3 S1 and check what the values were, but they're not 100% the same because the setup of these X-axis is different than the setup of the X-axis on the V2. So I had to manually adjust this, and at the moment I am doing the final checkup on this. It looks good so far. I'm probing 7x7 mesh points, and it's almost finished. I did, to make it faster, I didn't heat up the bed, so it's zero. I put it on 0, and almost there. And as that's there, I will show you guys what the values are that I'm using, so that everyone can check these values and change them to the same one as I am using, and you will have no issues or whatsoever. Because I was also having, when the print was finished, the bed, the Y axis would bump up to the farthest edge of this gantry. It's just a fraction of a bump, but it is enough to do damage in time. So I'm going to save this. There we go. Now, what you have to first change of all is, let me just go one by one because I also have to search for them, but let me store the settings first to be sure. Probe settings. These are the values that you have to set up for your probe settings. 31 X offset, probe X offset is 31.8, probe Y offset is 40.50, that's always minus, and then probe Z offset is minus 2.06, and then you go a little lower. I don't think you have to change anything by there, and then go back, and then we go to mesh leveling. I set up to 7x7, and here you also have to change your mesh inset. Here the mesh inset X minimum is 25. I don't think I changed that, but I did change the mesh X maximum to 1890. Maybe 195 is good enough as well as good, but I didn't want to, well, I didn't have time to check that, to be honest, but the 190 works for sure, no problem. And mesh Y minimum is 50. I did change that from 25 to 50 as far as I can remember, and mesh Y maximum is 200. I also changed that from 220 to 200. That's what was bumping. You don't change these, and then you go back. Bed temp, so I'm gonna change this to 60 because I want it to be 60 when I'm meshing. I didn't change these values. Auto build mesh would build the mesh, edit mesh, view mesh. So okay, this one is finished. And here, park head. So when the printer was printing and the printing is finished, you know your printer is homing, and when it's homing, my printer would also bump the Y-axis. So that's why I had to change these values as well. So I didn't have to change the park X position from 240. I didn't change that, but I did change the park Y position. I think it was 220, 220, 230, I don't know. It was something higher value, so I changed this to 215, which works perfectly. So then the Y of the bed doesn't bump, it just comes and then it stops at the perfect spot. I think there is just a couple millimeters left before it bumps, but it is good enough. So this is also something you have to change. Physical settings, I also changed these. The X bed size to, I think it was 235 or 230, I don't know. I changed this to 220. Y bed size from the same value to 220. I'm not sure I have changed these, but you can also copy these. If yours are different, you can just take these values over on your printer. So I think I changed these. X max position 220, Y max position 220. I know these values wouldn't be 100% accurate, but these work. So what I mean is, when it's probing, it won't be probing here, it will be probing here at least. So you will have this side of the bed that's probing. Why is this? Maybe you can, but look, this is the maximum position. You see, you can't go any further. This is the limit of this printer. On the S printer, the S1, you can go further, so your probe would be right here. You understand? So because of the limitation of this X gantry, the X position here, you can't go further. When I contacted Creality, they said officially the CR Touch BL Touch is not supported by the Ender 3 V2 V1 on the Sprite extruder, even though it has, when they're sending this out, the Pro kit, the Sprite Pro kit, you do have this place to mount your CR Touch. So at least take it off. Well, I don't know if they would take it off, make it optional. Well, it is optional, but you have these bit, it is on there, so it makes you confusion starts there. So they say it's not officially working on this printer, it's not supported, but even then you can't make it up to this. You understand? You can just, you see here, but when you make this side, you can't get any further. It will probe here, but it will also do the same on this side, which means you have a limitation of these insets, so you won't be able to get to the edge, which is the limitation also. But even though the print head can print on this side, no problem, you won't be able to probe there as a mesh. That's what I mean. On the y-axis, it's the same same problem. As you can see, my printer, maybe I can play with these, but I can't get any further to probe it. The Y position, I can't, the end stop, I can't put any further away. So you have the same limitation here. You see, this is the maximum position, and here, as you can see, the CR Touch will only reach up to here. It can't go any further. That's the problem. It can't get up to even out of the bed. That's also the problem. Most people have this problem when they are probing. It will probe in the air, in here, in this value. So that's why we have to change the value so it probes at least here, but I think mine probing here. So I do have this smaller area where I can probe and mesh it, but that's the limitation of the Ender 3 V2 and the Ender 3 V1. It only works with the Ender 3 S1 with the Sprite extruder. That's the limitation. That's the thing that Creality is talking about. They say it's not officially supported. That's what they mean, because if it's officially supported, it would also be able to probe on the edges of the print bed, but it can't. Anyways, guys, I think that's it. I don't think you have to change anything else. Let me check here. So okay, I did change the all the values that you have to change to make the printer home and probe mesh Everything is in the video, so copy it, pause the video, and check these values over your Ender 3 V1 or the Ender 3 V2, and I hope it all works out for you guys. It should. If it doesn't, change the values a little bit, and most likely make it smaller, not greater. Thank you guys for watching this video. Subscribe to my channel if you would like to see more videos like this in the future. Bye.